everyone, today I'm going to be creating 2 rugs made from these simple rugs that I got from IKEA, and I have 4 of them with me, and 2 of them I'm going to use to create a runner for our kitchen, and then the other 2 I'm going to use to make a circle rug for our bathroom. So for the kitchen runner, the first thing that I'm going to do is attach 2 of the rugs along the short end to make one long runner. And I don't have a sewing machine here, so we are going to be using E6000 instead to glue the 2 pieces of rug together. I already did a trial run with this and it worked really well. This is waterproof and flexible, so it works really well with gluing together fabric. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the fringe on these 2 sides of the 2 pieces of rug, and then I can glue them together. Next, I'm just pulling out some of the threads along the edge because it seems that having a little bit of a frayed edge helps the E6000 grip better. Now I'm just running a bead of E6000 glue along the edge of one of the rugs, and then I will place the edge of the second rug against it. For the glue to dry, I'm going to go ahead and paint on the pattern that I want this runner to have. And I'm going to be using acrylic paint mixed with this textile medium. I've also seen it called fabric medium. I just got it online, and basically you can mix any acrylic paint with it and then use it to paint on the fabric, and it'll help the color stay better even with washing. So I'm just mixed a bunch of browns and oranges and yellows together till I got a color that I was happy with. I was aiming for a muted terracotta color, which I think will go well in our kitchen. As for the amounts that I used, this brand did not specify how much to use. So you can see that I actually didn't use much at all, and I diluted it with water as well, because when I was doing a test patch, I found that if I just used acrylic paint and this textile medium, it ended up being pretty thick and the paint looked like it was caked onto the fabric, whereas making it a little bit more watery is going to help it seep into the fibers of the fabric better, and it's going to make it look less painted on. But one thing to note is that when you add water and you make it more runny, the paint is going to bleed a little bit. So when you paint on it, you're not going to get a precise line because it's going to bleed along the fibers of the fabric. In my case, I'm not worried about that because this is not going to be a very precise design anyways. And the inspiration for my design is from Studio McGee. They are on YouTube, and I really like their designs, and they have an online store as well as a line in Target, and I like a lot of their decor items. And I saw a rug on their site that I really liked, but I'm going to adapt it a little bit. So the thing about this IKEA rug is that it has these 3 subtle stripes running down the length of the rug, which is really good for my pattern because I'm doing like a striped blocked pattern, and these stripes end up dividing the rug into 4 sections. So I'm going to use these stripes as like my guidelines for painting on my lines, but again, it's not going to be very precise. I want it to be kind of casual and free form.
watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along. And I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would?
So this is what it's looking like so far. And then the last thing that I want to do is I have this embroidery floss that I want to use to put some stitches along this middle seam just to make it a bit stronger, and then hopefully also it'll make it look a little bit more finished. And then I also want to add the same color thread to add some decorative stitches along each of the ends. But I think I'm gonna wait to do that tomorrow just so I can make sure that the glue is completely dry. Good morning. So I have the runner here in front of me, and both the glue and the paint are dry. And like I mentioned yesterday, even though this E6000 is pretty secure, I do want to add some stitches down the seam, one to make it look more polished, and two to reinforce the seam. So I have some embroidery thread that is a similar color to what I painted it. Oh, also I did go over all the paint with a hairdryer because the back of the textile medium said that it'll help the paint set if you iron it or heat treat it. One thing that I did want to mention is that the seam from the front looks pretty good, but on the back, the E6000 did discolor the fabric a bit. It made it a little bit darker, so the seam is more noticeable on the back side because there's more glue on the back. So I think if I were to use E6000 again on this type of fabric, I would be more careful about just making sure the glue touches the edges of each piece and not letting too much seep through to the back side. So for this middle seam, I think I want to do a blanket stitch, which I haven't done before, but it seems easy enough. And let's get started. So to create the blanket stitch, you're going to focus on 3 points. Point A is where the thread emerges from the fabric. Point B is going to be where you insert the needle, and it's going to be on the opposite piece of fabric at a diagonal from point A. And then point C is going to be where the needle emerges, and it's going to be on the same side, the same piece of fabric as point A. And when you're pulling the needle through points B and C, the needle needs to go through the loop formed by the thread. So when you pull the needle through, it's going to create a backwards L. And then point C is going to become the next point A, and you just repeat that over and over. So typically in a blanket stitch, the stitches are all spaced uniformly, but in my case, I thought it would be more interesting to have 2 stitches close together and then a gap and then 2 stitches close together again. If my description was confusing, there are lots of resources online, on YouTube, or on blogs that probably explain it more clearly than I did, so feel free to use those other resources.
When I dance around, I can't help but feeling, I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together?
For the ends of the runner, I wanted to use the same general pattern, but instead of pushing the needle all the way through the fabric, I just created small stitches at points A, B, and C.
Forever, forever, forever. I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever?
So this is how the finished runner turned out. The thing that I like about this project is that it's so easy to customize it however you want it. So you can choose different colors of paint, you can choose different patterns, you can use a sewing machine or E6000 or some other fabric glue, and you could choose to add decorative stitches like I did or just leave it plain. It's also easy to change the size and shape of it, so you could put 3 pieces together if you wanted an even longer runner, or if you wanted a large rectangle, you could put 4 pieces together, so it's really customizable. I also went ahead and washed it to see how well the paint would hold up after washing, and I actually like how it turned out even better after a washing because it gave it a more faded and slightly less vibrant look, and I'm happy with how well the textile medium helped the paint stick to the fabric. So for the second project, I wanted to create a circle rug for our downstairs bathroom because I've been looking for a circle rug for many months now, and I haven't found one that's the right size or style. So what I'm going to do is place 2 IKEA rugs together lengthwise, but first I'm going to cut off the fringe from each of the ends of each of the rugs. Next, I glued the 2 pieces together along the long end, and I learned from my mistake last time, and this time I decided the easiest way would just be to overlap the 2 pieces of fabric with the glue in the middle, and that way you wouldn't be able to see the glue from either side. Next, I used a ruler to find the center of the fabric, and then I just used a piece of string and 2 pencils to sketch out the circle shape that I wanted for the rug. After cutting out the circle, I wanted to put the fringe on the edge of the rug, and I had 4 pieces of fringe from the 2 rugs used in this project. And unfortunately, these 4 pieces were not long enough to cover the entire diameter of the circle. So there are 3 ways you can get around this. First, which is what I did, was I took the fringe from my previous project that I had cut off of the kitchen runner to fill in that last missing piece. The second option is to make the diameter of your rug smaller so that the fringe that you do have is enough to wrap around the entire diameter. Or the third option is to not use this fringe, but to use another trim option that you may already have to finish the border of the rug. But in my case, I didn't want to make the rug any smaller because I thought this was a good size for our bathroom. And fortunately, I did have leftover fringe from the previous project, so I just used a little piece that was left over to finish off this rug. I also decided that since I had 4 long pieces of fringe and 1 short piece, that I wanted to cut the long pieces of fringe into shorter lengths so that they would all be fairly uniform in length and give the rug a more uniform look. And then finally, I used E6000 to glue each of the pieces of fringe along the border of the circle rug and let it dry overnight. So this is how this circle rug turned out. I'm pretty happy with it because it's exactly the size and style that I wanted for our bathroom, and it was a really simple, fast, easy project to do. This is another project that's pretty customizable because you can make the base any shape that you want, and you can finish it any way that you want, whether you add fringe or not. You could also paint it or add decorative stitches like I did on the first project, and it's a project that you can do with either a sewing machine or any type of fabric glue. I hope these DIYs gave you some inspiration for your own projects, and I'll see you in the next video.